Hey everyone, welcome back to English Connect.
Hi there. We're so glad you're here with us today.
I'm your host, Sophia.
And I'm Jason. This is your space to practice real, everyday English in a relaxed and friendly way.
If you're enjoying our podcast, please hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. It really helps us reach more learners like you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your support.
So, Sophia, what's today's topic?
Today, we're talking about something we all have, a daily routine. We'll share what our typical days look like from morning to night.
This is such a practical topic. When you meet new people or make friends, you often talk about your daily life, right? What time you wake up, what you do after work, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And describing your routine in English can be tricky. There are so many time expressions, phrasal verbs, and little details that make your English sound more natural.
Plus, routines say a lot about who we are as people. Are you a morning person or a night owl? Do you meal prep or order takeout? These little details are fascinating.
So here's today's plan. First, we'll chat naturally about our daily routines. Then, we'll break down 5 essential vocabulary items you can use. And finally, we'll give you a fun challenge to practice this week.
Ready? Let's dive in.
All right, Jason, let's start from the very beginning. What time do you usually wake up?
On weekdays, my alarm goes off at 6 a.m. And yes, I actually get up when it rings. I'm not a snooze button person.
6 a.m.? That's early. I'm impressed. I'm definitely more of a snooze button person.
You know, I used to hit snooze 3 or 4 times, but I realized it just made me feel more tired and rushed. Now I set my alarm for the actual time I need to get up, and I force myself out of bed immediately.
That takes discipline. What time do you go to bed to wake up that early?
I try to be in bed by 10:30, lights out by 11, so I get about 7 hours of sleep, which is pretty good for me.
7 hours is solid. So walk me through your morning. What's the first thing you do when you wake up?
First thing, I check my phone, unfortunately. I know everyone says you shouldn't do that, but I can't help it. I check messages, look at the news, scroll through social media for a few minutes.
I do the exact same thing. I've tried to break that habit, but my phone is my alarm clock, so it's right there.
Exactly. After about 10 minutes of phone time, I drag myself out of bed and head straight to the kitchen. I need coffee immediately. I'm useless before my first cup.
Are you a coffee snob? Do you have some fancy brewing method?
Not really. I just have a regular drip coffee maker. I set it up the night before, so all I have to do is press a button. While the coffee brews, I take a quick shower.
Smart. Maximizing your time. How long does your morning routine take?
From waking up to walking out the door, about an hour. 20 minutes in the shower and getting dressed, 10 minutes having coffee and breakfast, and the rest is just getting ready. Packing my bag, making sure I have everything I need for school.
What do you usually have for breakfast?
I'm boring. It's almost always the same thing. Toast with peanut butter and a banana. Sometimes I'll have yogurt if I'm feeling fancy. What about you?
I'm not much of a breakfast person, honestly. I usually just have coffee and maybe a granola bar on my way to work.
Just coffee? Don't you get hungry?
I do, but I have a weird thing where I can't eat much in the morning. My appetite doesn't really kick in until around 10 or 11. Then I'm starving.
So you're not a morning person in general.
Definitely not. My alarm goes off at 7, but I genuinely don't get out of bed until 7:30. I need that snooze time.
What happens between 7:30 and when you leave for work?
Pure chaos, honestly. I rush through everything. I jump in the shower, throw on whatever clothes look clean, do very minimal makeup, like mascara and lip gloss if I'm lucky. Then I grab my stuff and run out the door.
How long is your commute?
About 35 minutes on a good day, 45 if there's traffic. I drive to work, so I'm usually sitting in traffic, drinking my coffee, listening to podcasts.
What kind of podcasts?
True crime mostly. I'm obsessed with murder mysteries. Also some comedy podcasts to lighten the mood. What about your commute?
Mine's only 20 minutes. I drive too, but I usually listen to music or sometimes just drive in silence. I find the quiet morning drive kind of peaceful, you know? It's my transition time between home and work.
That makes sense. So you get to school around, what, 7:30?
Usually by 7:15 or 7:20. School starts at 8, but I like to get there early to prepare for the day, make copies, set up my classroom.
Do you have back-to-back classes all day?
Pretty much. I have 4 classes throughout the day with a lunch break in between. My free period is right after lunch, which is when I grade papers, answer emails, or meet with students who need extra help.
When does school end?
The final bell rings at 3 p.m., but I rarely leave right at 3. Usually I stay until 4 or 4:30, finishing up work, talking to students or other teachers.
So you get home around 5?
Yeah, around 5 or 5:15, and honestly, by that point, I'm exhausted. Teaching is mentally draining.
What do you do when you get home?
First thing, I change into comfortable clothes immediately. Like I don't even sit down first. I go straight to my room and put on sweatpants and a t-shirt.
The best part of the day.
Right? Then I usually just decompress for a bit. I'll sit on the couch, watch some YouTube videos, or scroll through my phone. I need about 30 minutes to just zone out and not think about work.
Do you cook dinner, or what's your evening meal situation?
I try to cook a few times a week, but I'm not gonna lie, I order takeout more often than I should. When I do cook, it's something simple like pasta, stir fry, or grilled chicken with vegetables.
What time do you usually eat dinner?
Around 6:30 or 7, sometimes later if I'm being lazy. What about you? What's your evening routine like?
So I usually get home around 6. Like you, first thing I do is change into loungewear. Then I face the eternal question, what am I going to eat?
The daily struggle.
I meal prep on Sundays sometimes, which makes weeknights easier. But when I haven't meal prepped, I'm either scrambling to throw something together or ordering delivery.
What do you usually make when you meal prep?
Pretty basic stuff. Chicken and rice, Buddha bowls, sometimes soup. Things that keep well in the fridge and reheat easily. I'll make big batches on Sunday and portion them out for the week.
That's smart. I should really do that.
It saves so much time and money. Plus, I eat healthier when I've already got food ready. Otherwise, I just order pizza.
So after dinner, what do you do with your evening?
It depends on the day. Some nights I have plans, meeting friends for drinks, going to a yoga class, running errands, but most weeknights I'm just at home.
And what does a typical night at home look like?
Honestly, a lot of Netflix. I'll put on a show and half watch it while scrolling through Instagram or texting with friends. Sometimes I'll read if I'm in the mood or work on a hobby.
What kind of hobbies?
I've been trying to get into painting recently. I'm terrible at it, but it's relaxing. I also do online shopping way too much, just browsing, adding things to my cart that I may or may not actually buy.
Online shopping as a hobby? I feel that. I do the same thing with books. I'll spend an hour looking at book reviews and adding titles to my wish list.
Do you have much homework to do in the evenings? Grading and lesson planning?
Unfortunately, yes. I try to leave work at work, but it's not always possible. Maybe 2 or 3 nights a week, I'll spend an hour or two grading papers or planning lessons. It's hard to find the motivation after a long day, though.
I can imagine. I sometimes have to check work emails at night, which I hate doing. I really try to unplug after 6 p.m.
That's a good boundary to have. Speaking of boundaries, what time do you usually start winding down for bed?
I try to start my bedtime routine around 10. I'll wash my face, do my skincare routine, brush my teeth, all the basics.
You have a skincare routine?
Don't sound so surprised. Yes, I wash my face and put on moisturizer and eye cream. It's not super elaborate, but I'm trying to take better care of my skin.
Good for you. I'm definitely lazier about that stuff. I brush my teeth and wash my face if I remember.
You should at least use moisturizer. Anyway,
After my nighttime routine, I get into bed and usually watch something on my laptop or read on my phone.
What do you watch before bed?
Something light and easy, reruns of sitcoms usually, Friends, The Office, shows I've seen a million times. I don't want anything too intense or thought-provoking before sleep.
Same. I do the exact same thing. There's something comforting about rewatching familiar shows.
Right? So I'll watch for maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and then I try to actually go to sleep. What time do you usually fall asleep?
Like I said earlier, around 11. Though sometimes I'll get sucked into whatever I'm reading or watching and stay up later than I should.
I'm terrible with that. I'll say just one more episode, and suddenly it's midnight.
And then you regret it in the morning.
Every time. So that's basically my weekday routine. Wake up late, rush to work, sit in traffic, work all day, come home exhausted, eat something, watch TV, go to bed too late, rinse and repeat.
When you put it like that, it sounds pretty monotonous.
It kind of is. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have a good life, but weekdays do blur together. That's why I look forward to weekends so much.
How different is your weekend routine?
Completely different. I sleep in as late as possible, sometimes until 9 or 10. No alarm clock, which is glorious.
Same here. Sleeping in is one of life's greatest pleasures.
Then my weekends are more flexible. I might go to brunch with friends, do errands I didn't have time for during the week, hit the gym, do that meal prep I mentioned.
Do you have a lazy Sunday routine?
Oh, absolutely. Some Sundays I don't change out of my pajamas all day. I'll just lounge around, maybe binge watch an entire season of something, order takeout. It's wonderful.
That sounds perfect. I do something similar. I call it recharging for the week ahead.
Exactly. You need that downtime. Our weekday routines are so structured and busy, we need that balance.
It's interesting how routines give structure to our lives. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing Monday through Friday. There's comfort in that predictability.
True, though sometimes I wish I had more spontaneity, more variety.
Fair. I think the key is finding a routine that works for you, but also leaving room for flexibility and fun.
Well said. Routines shouldn't feel like a prison. They should make your life easier and better.
Absolutely. And everyone's routine looks different based on their lifestyle, their job, their priorities.
For sure. I bet our listeners have completely different routines from us.
That's what makes this topic so interesting. Everyone has a routine, but they're all unique.
All right, everyone, time to break down some key vocabulary from our conversation. These words and expressions will help you talk about your daily routine naturally.
We've picked 5 really useful terms that came up today. Let's jump right in.
First one, hit the snooze button, or just hit snooze. I mentioned that I'm a snooze button person. Jason, explain this one.
When your alarm goes off in the morning, you can hit the snooze button to make it stop temporarily. The alarm will ring again in 5 or 10 minutes, giving you a little more sleep.
So if someone says, I hit snooze 3 times this morning, it means they kept turning off their alarm and going back to sleep instead of getting up right away.
Exactly. And we often use this to describe our morning personality. I'm a snooze button person. Means you have trouble waking up and need multiple alarms.
Next expression, drag yourself out of bed. Jason used this phrase when describing his morning.
To drag yourself out of bed means to force yourself to get up when you really don't want to. It implies effort and reluctance.
It's that feeling when you're so tired or comfortable in bed that getting up feels like a huge effort. You have to really push yourself to do it.
You could also say drag yourself to work or drag yourself to the gym. Anytime you're forcing yourself to do something you don't feel like doing.
Third one, wind down. I talked about winding down for bed around 10 p.m.
To wind down means to gradually relax and prepare for rest. It's the process of transitioning from being active to being calm and ready for sleep.
So, your wind down routine might include things like dimming the lights, doing a skincare routine, reading, or listening to calm music, activities that help you relax.
People also use this for weekends. I like to wind down on Friday night after a busy work week. It's about de-stressing and slowing down.
Number 4, zone out. Jason said he zones out after work.
To zone out means to stop paying attention or to let your mind wander. You're kind of spacing out, not really focused on anything specific.
It's when you're physically present but mentally checked out, like when you're watching TV but not really paying attention, just staring at the screen. You're zoning out.
Right. It can be intentional, like I need to zone out for a bit and not think about anything, or unintentional, like, sorry, I was zoning out. What did you say?
Last one, rinse and repeat. I used this at the end when describing my routine.
This is a fun expression. It originally comes from shampoo bottle instructions, lather, rinse, repeat. But we use it to mean doing the same thing over and over again.
When I said rinse and repeat, I meant that my weekday routine is the same every day. I wake up, go to work, come home, sleep, and then do it all over again the next day.
It often has a slightly negative connotation, suggesting something is repetitive or monotonous. I go to the gym, eat healthy, go to bed early, rinse and repeat.
Okay, let's recap. Hit the snooze button, drag yourself out of bed, wind down, zone out, and rinse and repeat.
5 super practical expressions for talking about your daily routine.
Well, Jason, that was fun. I feel like I know your daily routine inside and out now.
Same here. And hopefully our listeners picked up some useful language for describing their own routines.
Speaking of which, it's time for this week's challenge.
Here's what we want you to do. In the comments below, describe part of your daily routine. It could be your morning routine, your evening routine, or what you do after work.
And here's the important part. Use at least one of the vocabulary items we taught today. Hit the snooze button, drag yourself out of bed, wind down, zone out, or rinse and repeat.
For example, you could write, I hit the snooze button 5 times every morning because I hate waking up early.
Or, after work, I like to wind down by taking a hot bath and reading a book.
We love hearing about your lives and experiences. Plus, writing in English is excellent practice, and you get feedback from other learners in the community.
Don't worry about making mistakes. Just try your best. That's what learning is all about.
And if you found this episode helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who's learning English. It really helps us grow this community.
If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. We release new episodes every week on different real-world topics.
You know, Sophia, talking about routines today made me realize how much of our lives is spent on autopilot. We do the same things every day without really thinking about it.
That's so true. But I think routines are important. They provide structure and stability, especially when life gets chaotic.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with having a routine, as long as it's a routine that serves you and makes you happy.
Well said. All right, everyone. That wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for listening and being part of this community.
Keep practicing your English, stay curious, and remember, every routine is different, and that's what makes us interesting.
We'll see you next week with a brand new topic.
Until then, take care.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.